Hello True Believer, so today we'll be going through the Criterion B requirements for your Scratch game. So again, same as before, there's 4 different columns, so this is for 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, then a 7 to 8. So again, we'll be focusing on the 7 to 8s in order to achieve the highest grade possible for the subject. So stream 1 basically means that you make a set of design specifications based on the data collected from the research questions that you did, describing the complete parameters for a successful game. So how are you going to make this game work, basically. Strand 2 then is presenting at least 2 annotated diagrams, meaning design specifications, and clearly showing how the game will look. So these have to be 2 separate designs of the gameplay. However, the emphasis is on the interaction of the sprites with the environment. So how do the different players and objects within the game work together? So you don't have to give the whole game, but just the main core functionality of the gameplay. Strand 3 then presents the chosen design and outlines the reason for its selection against all the design specifications that you did in Strand 1. So this is when you analyze the designs that you've made in Strand 2 against what you've done in Strand 1. And then finally in Strand 4, develops a clear step-by-step storyboards demonstrating how the game will function from start to finish, outlining all of the transitions. Okay, so that's basically how will the game flow, and it should be very clear as to how the game will work. So this is a list of criteria similar to what Strand 1 could look like. So this is for a mathematics game. So you need to have the design number, the specification number, sorry, the components based off the research that you did, so what you thought was important to make a successful game. You then say how this will be accomplished, and then was it completed, which will be marked in Strand 3. Okay, so this is you designing the design specification of how your game should function. So for example, is it a shooter-based game? And then you would base off the instructions that you found. Okay, so you need to think about how you will achieve these different components. When you're working with digital images, we personally would recommend when you're doing Strand 2 and Strand 4, to use digital images straight away. So then you've got all the assets for your game rather than hand drawing it and then trying to find the assets later. Okay? If you want to use a transparent background, it must be saved as a PNG. Okay? So this is a simple way to make things change the background is you open the image, and then you make sure you convert it to bit mode format. So it'll be over here, there'll be a button if it's not in PNG format, which will then look like this. You then need to click on the paint bucket tool, which is here, and then on the no fill color, which is this one here. So it's the white with the diagonal line, red line. That means no fill. Okay. You then click on the area that you want to get rid of. So I would click in here, and then if you notice the background's now got this check sort of format. That's why, okay? Because it's basically now transparent, so only the Ninja Turtles would exist in this image. If you want to refine it, you can always use the eraser tool to get even more in detail, or you can open the image up in Photoshop and edit it that way. With Strand 2, when it says you need to annotate, you must annotate to the level that it's very clear what each element is. Okay, so you need to not just say what it is, but describe what it is as well. So this is a science annotation of a cell for E. coli, where it's very clear what's happening inside of this cell. That's similar to the sort of effect that needs to happen in your game. Some students in the past have labeled it with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, and then down the bottom underneath have done a little paragraph blurb about what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make it a bit clearer and doesn't get as messy on the drawing. But that's totally up to you how you wish to do that. Here's an example of a past diagram, okay, without the annotation obviously, but that's what their game sort of looked like when they were putting it together. This person cut out their different elements of the game and then put it together. This was their second design of the game, so a little bit different from the original one, but has some of the similar features. So if you look, the monsters are the same, the explosions, but then instead of the player being a spaceship, they've got it as the man. Okay. Here's another example with some annotation that was done really well. That's just another example, and same here. So that was their 2 separate designs for what they wanted to do with their game. This is an example of a bad one. Okay, so please don't do this. If you just run like that, you're not going to get the grades that you're expecting. Okay. Design B Criterion Criterion B hints. So you'll need to be listed design specifications that are based on your previous research questions. So make sure that they have that element. So for example, maybe one of your research questions discussed the importance of color choice, and you found that your target audience would prefer seeing soft pastel colors. So then one of your design specifications will be to use pastel colors, okay? But it must reference the research. The complete parameters need to show how that you considered you'll develop your game in great detail. So you might want to write that the character will be a simple 2D mouse that is primarily yellow. The background will mainly soft pink, and the mouse will have to jump over light blue wheels, whatever it is. Okay? So it has to be complete about how the game is going to be built. If you think other specifications that you realize are important, but you haven't done the research that links it, that's okay, but just make sure you note that you realize this after the fact. Annotate means more than just labeling the design, as we just discussed. You have to label it and then discuss the importance of it or its functionality. Okay, so these designs can be drawn by hand, but like I said, we would prefer for you to find the images first. So when you're building a game, you're not worried about finding the images. It makes it a lot easier for Criterion C if you found all the images while doing this Criterion B. Point 5, so simply choose the best design from your annotated designs in the previous strands and describe why you chose these designs. You might want to create pros and cons tables or a Venn diagram to talk about the difference between the two designs, but this is not a requirement. Make sure that you follow the strand requirement, choose the design is well justified against each of the design specifications, so you have to link the reasoning for your design specifications and you need to justify it well. You will find this part easier if you choose two very different designs on the previous point. So if you make them too similar, it's going to be hard to justify why you chose one over the other. Okay. Some template ideas. So design specification presents a wide range of feasible design ideas using the appropriate mediums and annotations, which will be correctly interpreted by others. So that's what the first slide with the table was. And then you would do design idea 1. Then you would evaluate it against these design specifications that you did. So I personally would go through and give each one a rating out of 5. Then you can give it a total, so you can at the end have a final number so that you can compare the numbers against each other. Design idea 2, and then the same thing. Then you would do final design selection, so you would analyze all these results that you found and then make it very clear why you've chosen design 1 or 2 over each other, which is the reasoning that you've done. And then you evaluate it against the design specifications, so you evaluate how successful it was, and then you show your planning and drawings for the chosen design. So that's your final storyboard describing very clearly all the transitions from start to finish of your game. So that's basically Criterion B. Stay tuned for Criterion C. Thank you.